various and trying times. In 2008, we were looking at 45 billion in the red. And that's the largest mountain I've had to be a part of climbing since I first began to serve in this honorable body. As we proceed, and we will come to some kind of budget agreements here that will gain sufficient votes, but we must not repeat the errors of the past, where we feasted heavily and disregarded the eventuality of the famine. Fortunately, there was a resolve last year to see that the need for Proposition 2, which is kind of a governor on our budget spending. It is a reserve. And when it was first talked about in the 80s and a reserve was set aside, it was for emergency situations. And those were more viewed to be natural disasters, force majeures. Now then it became called economic uncertainties. But what a reserve ought not ever be is looked at as a piggy bank, a pot of money to covet and spend. As have been over the years, as we've struggled to balance the budget, the various and vast numbers of accruing funds, which are taxes upon individual citizens in some kinds of ways, like off-road vehicle, and those monies have been coveted and swept. We ought not be doing that. And as more funds are available to build some programs back, maybe in some cases to come up with some new ideas that work better than the old ideas. And I submit we particularly need to do that in criminal justice. A lot of the rehabilitation cannot demonstrate, it clearly has not, that it was working. And I'm not willing to keep pouring money into it. Nor could we continue to pour money into the Delta the way we did with CalFed and not fix the Delta. So it's incumbent on the policymakers to be very thorough in their examinations and to make sure there is accountability for the funds that are spent. So we can learn by the mistakes of the past and learn by the successes of the past. The governor has, to his credit, focused on debt. And we've not talked quite enough here today about debt, and I intend to bring debt retirement up a lot more. Just because we have more money doesn't mean that we should spend and forget the debt retirement. I'd like to quit reading the stories about this tremendous pension debt that we have accrued. And lastly, and this is one of my disappointments, I saw in 08 a true opportunity. An opportunity to get some control over the agencies of government that have so exponentially grown and have even grown during the course of this very tough time. With the Department of Corrections, for example, there has been no bonus. Remember the base closure and the dividend that was to accrue to go to social programs because we didn't spend all that money on the military? Well, now we had vast numbers of fewer inmates and parolees to deal with. They've been dumped on local government. Now you would think, and it should have, the Department of Corrections budget would have gone down. It has not. It's gone up. And one high official, who I lost a lot of respect for, told me it was because the court. Folks, the court has cost us some money indeed. But don't go blaming the problems of CDCR on the court. The court intervened because over decades, the legislature and governors, plural, did not deal with the situation. And they did not create the fact that CDCR is paying more now with much fewer populations to serve. My point in closing is, yes, we need to do some things, and there's going to be some restorations and some new obligations made. But we dare not emulate the follies of the past and go on a big spending spree or dip into that reserve that we have now just created for the very reason that we could be a more responsible state look better in the markets, and have a sustaining growth and future and balanced budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Of course, thank you, Senator Nielsen.